Good day everyone, my name is Jack and welcome back to the channel. Today we're obviously talking about Space Engineers, as you can tell from the title. We're actually more or less talking about the development of Space Engineers and what's currently going on with the game. So if you don't follow Space Engineers and the developers Keen Software House on social media, you might miss a few of their posts sometimes, but don't worry, I'm here to cover it all for you and talk you through what's currently going on with the game in as much detail as I possibly can give. So recently the Twitter and Facebook accounts, or the developers, recently put out a couple of posts talking about a developer snapshot, what they're currently working on, as well as a public test that's going on tomorrow. I'm going to give you a general overview of what they're currently working on, tell you a bit about the public test, and then break down some of the specific things they're working on in greater detail, so stick with me. Alright, so the developer snapshot was tweeted and put on Facebook and in the Discord by the developers, and it goes like this. Welcome to hashtag Space Engineers Developer Snapshot number 1, so presumably we're going to see more of these as the year goes on. Here are some improvements that we're currently working on. First one being air pressurization and tightness. Now this is a much requested feature by the community to be saved, and I'll go into greater detail on that in a moment. The experimental mode improvements. This is a new mode that was introduced with a multiplayer update to sideline certain things into an experimental mode so new players wouldn't get confused with these big confusing things. Some players are unhappy with this as it's features we've worked with since Space's release in 2013, which we're getting moved to experimental mode, but again, more on that later. And they're also working on Space Pirates. Now this is a new thing for me, I haven't read into the Space Pirates that much, but we'll learn more about it together in this video. So there we go, that's our first developer snapshot there. I can put it on screen now so you can see that I'm reading the right post. And that is what's going to be coming to Space Engineers hopefully over the course of the next year. Now so far there's no dates on this, when it's coming, what's happening, but we do know at least what the developers are working on. Now one of my big concerns last year, and I know a lot of the community, was that there wasn't much talk from the developers on what they're actually doing. There wasn't much transparency. Not that they have to be, but when I think of it, when you're working on a game and you've got an already audience behind you, it's nice to be transparent with the audience and tell them what's currently going on. And you guys, the Space's audience and myself, were understanding. If the developers came and said, hey, we're working on multiplayer, we went, brilliant, we'll wait until you do it. Some people would obviously be a bit unhappy, but I think it goes without saying that we like being kept in the loop and being told what we're working on, especially as it's an early access product. So the fact they're now doing these developer snapshots is a plus in my book personally. I think this is amazing news and I can't wait to actually see more from the developers in these little snapshots. I really wish they'd go to doing some sort of video logs, kind of like what Zocli used to do, but where they sit down with developers and discuss certain things in these snapshots, maybe like a roundtable discussion. That could be something quite cool. I do know over on their Space News channel at the minute, they are doing these developer session interviews where they talk to certain members of the development team, such as the multiplayer guy and a few others, about how certain updates work and certain things in the game work. Quite cool to see that. I do recommend going and watching it if you'd like a bit of in-depth learning experience on how Space News is built by these talented people. But first, let's talk about the upcoming test for Space News that is actually happening tomorrow. Let's talk about it a bit more. So, Space's public test is happening on a Thursday, the October 4th at 9 AM UTC, and it's going on to a Friday, October 5th at 3 PM UTC. Take note that these details will be down below in the description if you should miss them. So the post starts off going, hello engineers, we're excited to announce another Space Engineers public test. For this test, there will be 3 survival servers, 1 for each time zone. We'll announce the branch code at the time of the test and we'll make a dedicated server available as well. We encourage everybody to try out these new features, especially lobby and dedicated servers in creative mode with lots of players. So quite cool there, obviously the developers are working on the lobby of dedicated servers. Now the public test will feature these new or improved features. So here we go, another look into what they're currently working on. So get ready, I'm going to read through it. We've got fixed and optimized air tightness, which has been removed from experimental mode. Added in-game help, then brackets good.bot. Added context help. Added chat box, again good.bot. I presume this might be some sort of bot that's helping out. They've refactored the new game, a load game, blueprint, and script screen. So hopefully that's going to be redeveloped to have a new sort of cool look, which is nice. I do like the idea of them optimizing and refining the game a bit more, as there's some things that have been the same since almost 2013 to a degree. So it's nice to have a bit of a shift around and see how people find it. Now they're adding relative dampening, something quite cool to see. Added asteroid clusters, rendering optimizations, and moved lobby MP out of experimental. Quite cool, and I can't wait to see where a few of these features go. I was particularly interested in the asteroid clusters, the relative dampening, and the render optimizations, as I know myself and a few others had issues with the render optimizations in Space Engineers, so it's quite cool to see they're actually working on this. I'm going to be taking part in a test tomorrow when I'm not actually filming for Colony Wars and stuff like that. So if you are testing the server as well, expect to see me out there. Come hang out with us, let's have a chat on what you think with development space is taking place. But again, if you do want to get involved in a test, it is through Keen Software House for developers. I will leave a link to their server as well as the post which I'm reading from now to where you can go find out the details for yourself and join on the test and actually test these features for yourself. Give feedback to the developers as well if you are testing it, it is what they need. So let's look at these snapshot details in a greater inspection really. Let's look at them in greater details, what I'm trying to say. So first off, let's focus on air pressurization and tightness. So when the multiplayer update did come around, it did move air pressurization to the experimental mode, which means most servers didn't use it. Even my own public servers and private servers currently do not use this mode, as I have personally deemed it a little bit too laggy. I know it's received optimization since, but some computers still can't handle it, and it does slow down the game in some areas. If you have a big hangar bay and suddenly it's depressurized, it causes a ton of lag for the game and the server. Not something you really want on a public multiplayer server, however I do wish I could turn it on. I do believe that air pressurization is a massive feature of Space Engineers, and therefore it deserves not to be sidelined in experimental mode. I was also one of the people who backed the idea of saving it, particularly in the new Keen Software House support site you might have seen. I'll drop a link down to it below. Used by Malware basically shared the idea of saving the pressurization feature. He brought it to a bunch of us as well, who kind of backed up the idea. I even mentioned it to developers myself. So they're not shunting the idea anytime soon, which is a good thing. And no, now they're definitely working on it. So it's nice to see they are saving the pressurization feature. Now, we did respond about 3 weeks ago to Malware's post going, "Hello engineers, we're working hard on this feature and it should be included in one of the next major updates for Space Engineers. However, as our game development process is fluid, things may change in the future." What they mean by that is they are currently working on it, however it could change at any moment due to the way their development process works. Little bit of sticky software there, because don't get the community hyped up about something and suddenly change it, but also understand that they may have to change things sometimes due to the way development actually works. Kind of a no-brainer when you think about it, but also kind of annoying. So basically, Malware's original post points out that pressurization isn't a pointless mechanism. It's basically a really immersive feature that a lot of people enjoy, like making sure every room is properly tubed and ventilated. It directly affects ship design and shipbuilding. I know for myself, I don't build ships to be pressurized anymore. If you've downloaded one of my ships off a workshop, there is a 99% chance it is not built for pressurization whatsoever, and there's nothing bad about that. Some people do not like the feature. But some people do, like me. If we could use it in colony survival and we could use it in our Patreon battles and stuff like that, or for any of our multiplayer servers, I would definitely jump at a chance, as I believe pressurization is an interesting feature. Now, I'd like to see it be brought forward where it can take some modes, so you're going to get added health and stuff if you use pressurization, so there's more of an incentive to use it. Because as me and Last Stand Gamers, Aaron, were discussing, at the minute, the way pressurization is currently built, what's the point of me using it? Why should I use pressurization in Space Engineers? For example, I could just go around with my helmet sealed and a couple of bottles in my backpack and be happy as Larry. I am right at the end of the day, and I expect most of you are going to agree with me there. Unless you can think of some benefit in the comments, then please do let me know, because at the minute I do not see a benefit for pressurization in the game. So hopefully the developers have listened to this idea, especially what Malware and others brought to the table, and thought, yes, we need to make it so there's incentive to use pressurization in your ships and star bases and stuff like that, and to basically take off the helmet and unmask the engineer. It could be quite cool, and this definitely builds into the survival updates, which are meant to be rolling out over the course of the next year, following on from my last interview with Mark Rosa, so it's going to be quite cool to see where this takes place. Now, the other thing that was mentioned in the Space Engineers Developer Snapshot was experimental mode improvements. Now, this originally comes from a post which Jimical made. He's a talented modder and just a general cool guy in the Space Engineers community. Now, he made a post called Experimental Mode Improvements, going, much to the disappointment of many players, a significant number of options have been deemed unofficial in the eyes of Keen and hidden in experimental mode. This is causing a lot of problems because existing players suddenly can't find the options that they're used to. Even new players get confused by the lack of customization with this mode disabled. I'd like to suggest rethinking how options are marked as experimental so it's more user-friendly instead of hiding the options. Could it simply be marked with a different front color, tooltip, or added experimental selection in the options menu? That way, the messages are unofficial, it's still conveyed without purposely making them difficult to find and confusing for new and old players alike. Now, the developers themselves didn't actually respond to this post as far as I can see. Scrolling down here. Oh no, they did respond. They went, "Hello engineers, we're working hard on this feature and it should be included one of the next..." Okay, that's basically the same post which was put before. I'm not going to read you the same thing, but it shows they are actively working on it. Now, I myself also did get confused when experimental mode also did roll out. It confused me and it confused a lot of modders and just general community members out there. Even us older players were scratching their heads going, well, where's this gone? It's not originally in the game anymore. And even new players were watching content of Space Engineers, maybe like some YouTubers or the game developer's own channel, going, well, I've seen it, but where is it in the game? It kind of got a little bit confusing. So it's nice to know they're now actively working on, clearing the line between what is experimental and what isn't, and making it more user-friendly overall. Following on from my talks with the developers and Marek Rosa, they have previously stressed that they'd like to make the UI a better experience for the end user. So, cleaning it up there and making things more easier for the user at the end of the day, which is a good idea because it needs to be. Alright, moving on to our final topic, and that is space pirates, which was mentioned in the developer Snapshot, so let's take a read. Now this was submitted by a user to the support website called Pirate Bases, and he said, "Hi, I would like to ask you if you're going to add pirate bases also to a start system. Pirate bases are only at the easy start, and it would be much better if you add it everywhere. That's why I don't play planets yet, because then I cannot meet pirate bases. I do not want easy start already, as I have their ships in some bases." Fair enough, it's quite cool. The developers have responded back again to saying they are working on this feature, so it's not really clear what they're doing to it all of a sudden. But some of the community members have responded by going, this is how we'd like to see stuff. I know, is it Vlad here? He's one of the key guys in Space Engineers, and he said, "Thank you for your suggestion. Our next release will focus on making the game more accessible for new and existing players, user intuitiveness, but also redoing and polishing default scenarios, easy start space, empty world EC, and therefore we will sure consider this idea." Another member by Mark, he's actually in my server, has recommended checking out the Modular Encounters collection of mods. But anyway, back to the original point here. The pirates in spaces, I think we can all agree, little bit boring to a degree now. They aren't the most exciting thing in the world. They've been in there for quite a while now. I remember chasing around the cargo ships back in the original mode of Spaces before planets and stopping a mining thing. Those were fun times. So it's nice to see the developers are going back and actually improving pirate bases, and it definitely opens up another load of questions of what they're actually going to do to improve these pirate bases. What could be done to improve the pirates in Space Engineers? Now, I'm sure a lot of you who are watching are going to have some great feedback on how you'd like the pirates to operate in Space Engineers, so I encourage you to write that feedback to me in the comments there, and I will try and show it to developers in an email if I can, and maybe even get a few of them to watch this video to see what you guys think of it, because I do think taking in community responses on how features in spaces work is a definite plus for developers. You can see them doing it here with their own support website. I will drop a link to that, by the way, in the description should you go want to post your own feedback to them directly. I definitely suggest you do, as it seems they monitor this site 24/7 and are constantly on the lookout for community feedback, which is good at the end of the day. I do like the idea that Space Engineers developers are now being more transparent of us for community and listening to community feedback as well. It's a definitely plus in their book, and I think it can only lead to a better game for all of us at the end of the day. Now they're actively listening to us and being transparent about what they're currently working on. It's quite cool. They're also being transparent about it, but also telling us at the same time, their development space is fluid, meaning it could change at any time. So it's not getting our hopes up too much, but just giving us a little treat of what's actually going on. Now, they have stated that they're having more developer snapshots near the future, which will be quite cool to see. I'm definitely, for the idea of developers being more transparent, whether it's not just Spaces, but other games as well. So, it's nice to see this. One thing I would love to see them do it in a sort of a video format as well. I know not everyone is going to catch the reading posts on the forums, Twitter and Facebook. So, developers, if you are listening, I would definitely suggest going back to a video format as well as a text-based one. I know it can take extra time filming videos and stuff like that, but I'm just thinking of people who may have trouble reading and stuff like that. It would be nice to see it presented in a nice video format. Hey, it would even take less than 5 minutes to actually create something by going, this is what we're working on, yada yada yada, follow the post here if you want to read more. It's quite cool. Maybe not, it might put me out of a job, just joking, but it's still quite a cool idea, and I want to know what you guys think of it down below in the comment section as usual. That kind of sums up my video today discussing the development of Space Engineers. I'm definitely keen for where this game is going. That was not a pun, don't start. But I'm definitely, hyped for where the game is going at the minute. Space Engineers has had an amazing year so far, I think. Alright, had a bit of drama at the start there, but the multiplayer update has massively changed the game for me. We're doing a 20-player survival series. We've got 2 public multiplayer servers currently running with 32 players on each. It's amazing. We've also got one of our biggest Patreon events this weekend being live streamed on my channel, so definitely tune in and watch that. I can't wait to see where the game goes overall. I'm really excited for it, and I want to know your feedback on the game down below in the comment section. Let's open up a discussion about the current development of Space Engineers. Is there any particular features you guys are after? Do you like the current idea of developer snapshots and what they're working on, especially with pressurization? As I know a lot of the community were vocal about pressurization. So let's see your thoughts on it down below in the comments. We'll be opening up a discussion and having a chat with you guys. In the meantime, I've been Jack. I do thank you for watching this video of me today. And yeah, I think that covers everything I needed to say. Hopefully with the next update, I'll get a chance to chat with more developers from Keen Software House and talk to them about the development of the game and answer your community questions as well. So in the meantime, I've been Jack, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.